Hey Tamir, it's great to have you on the show. Tamir is a solopreneur who bootstrapped a Zendesk integration company. He spent the last 6 years in the CRM world, built several add ons for Zendesk, and reaching 30K ARR indie hacking. Tamir, great to have you on the show. How about if you intro yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Daniel, and thank you for the introduction. Like you said, I'm coming from the CRM world. I've spent the last really decade or so integrating different CRM platforms, integrating different APIs with each other. A lot of that is based on the no-code tools and really doing stuff without developers. And now I'm taking this challenge one step further, and I'm looking into big products in the cybersecurity fields that can be built the same way based on my experience from the CRM world. So thank you for having me.
Sure, I'm excited about this episode. I think we can learn a lot from you specifically about marketplaces. So, how do you view growth on marketplaces and why use that approach at all compared to a standard approach?
So marketplaces serve as a crutch for getting started, and here's what I mean by that. When instead of building and then screaming into the void, you're using the marketplace of a CRM platform, of Shopify, of whichever app you're building on top of to send traffic your way. And this is a very, very easy way to create an organic channel for your product and also validate your product before you start investing into development. And I'll give an example. When I started the ThankYouGPT, it's one of the plugins that we're doing on Zendesk. We had one customer or two customers that told us, hey, this is like a nice idea. Maybe you can build an extension for that. And we built it and released it on the marketplace and on the Zendesk marketplace. And then suddenly we started having people go onto the app, install it, sign up, like starting to automate tickets without even speaking with us. And that was the moment I realized, oh, this thing is actually interesting to some people. And then I also looked at the marketplace on the platform feature requests forum. Every platform has a feature request forum that allows you to that allows customers to ask for certain features. And I saw there is this thread of 100 comments for the last that existed since like 2014 of people asking for a solution similar to that. And then I said, okay, like there is something in there. So essentially, it allowed me to validate the problem and the solution very quickly without investing in getting my own traffic.
Nice. So basically, you're saying that it is a great, you can already use the organic reach of these different platforms, and it's a lot easier way to get started. I'm assuming there are also cons of marketplaces, right? Like you're very dependent on the parent company. You can't decide to create a landing page in any way you want, or, decide to write a blog post. You're very limited to the marketplace itself.
Yeah, and I think at a certain point you have to diversify. So if you're reliant on a single platform, something bad is going to happen eventually. Like it's never going to be like a smooth sailing for the next 10 years. Oh, like I'm just best friends with Zendesk. They're always going to change something. They're always going to break something. And I know of someone that built an amazing product around Facebook, and then he was scraping Facebook, and then suddenly Facebook sent him like a cease and desist letter, and that's it. He was gone. So obviously, at a later stage, you definitely want to diversify, and you want to stay off the rely or like be aware that you're reliant on a single platform and kind of like diversify away from that. But at the beginning, at the initial stages, then you can, you need to get started somehow.
Cool. So let's say I want to start a plugin on the Zendesk or a different marketplace today. How do I go about that? What are the top three things to start with?
Okay, so there are two different scenarios here that you have to take into consideration. The first one is you could potentially already have a product that integrates with Zendesk or does something remotely that remotely involves Zendesk. Even if you're just getting tickets from Zendesk into your product for BI, for example, nothing that has to do with the actual agent experience, but you're using Zendesk as a data source, you have an integration with Zendesk, you can easily get your product listed on the Zendesk marketplace. And that has benefits for SEO, obviously, because you get a do follow link from Zendesk to your website. It has benefits for discovery, and it has benefits in terms of how trusted and how legitimate you look as a product company. That's one angle. You already did your validation, you know what you're doing, and you just want more traffic, more eyes on your offering. Then I would say go and integrate with all the marketplaces that you have, that you work with their platforms. So find out all the platforms that you're working with, find out if they have a marketplace, and go integrate with those marketplaces, or go publish on those marketplaces so you can get more traffic in. The other option is that you want to build something from scratch, and in that case I would tell you, go to the feature request forum, look what check what people are saying that they are missing on the platform right now, and just build based on the feedback. So if you look on the monday.com feature request board, it's really interesting. You can see there is it's really like a community in action. People post their feature request, and then after a few months or a few years, someone says, oh, I built an app for that, here's the link. And Monday then labels the app as the official solution for that feature request, and that's it, and the feature request is closed. So if you can get there fast enough and just get all those small apps out, you could eventually find something that sticks and makes you money.
Cool, I like that. So let's say I'm building from scratch and I go over the form and I see a bunch of different feature requests. How do I know, hey, this has strong enough validation? Do I go by the amount of upvotes? Do I start with a landing page? How do I get started?
So I would do it in I would look at three main criteria. First is obviously the amount of votes, the amount of comments, and how long this request has been there. The longer it has been there, the more votes that it has, and the more comments that it has, the bigger the need. The second thing I would do is just spin up like a very basic version of a landing page or an app if you have to, but some marketplaces let you publish a marketing listing. So the same way you could publish a landing page online and send traffic from Facebook to that landing page, you can also publish a landing page on the Zendesk marketplace, on the Salesforce marketplace, on the Shopify app store, and get people to that page with almost no development involved. And then you can start measuring the traffic and seeing what traction you're getting, which brings me to the third point of you have to see what's the traction that you're getting early on. So if something goes up there and there isn't like a surge of traffic, or at least a few calls that are coming in, I normally let it be, and I don't invest so much in that idea. Because the ones that do have a real need and like people are actually looking for, they would come to you and immediately start asking you how they can use that, how they can get started. I recently created an app on the Zendesk marketplace, a landing page, really, not an app even, a Shopify AI agent, and within a week I had 2 people book a call and ask how they can get started with the app. So that was good enough for an initial validation for me to say, okay, let's keep investing in that app further.
So, what would a good experiment look like to you? How long would we run the experiment for? And what kind of metrics would tell you we need to pivot? And what kind of metrics would tell you this is working?
So I think that because getting apps live is very easy. It's relatively short development cycle that you need to put in, maybe a week or two, and you can get like something up and running. I would say just throw every time you have an idea, throw it out there, and you have to do the basics. You have to get some reviews onto your app. So sometimes you can use customers you already work with and ask them for a review, or you ask your friends even for a review, just to get this motion started. So you get some reviews, and you have to write the copy, and you have to create the visuals and everything. But I wouldn't do like a lot more beyond that, and the very basic development if necessary. On Zendesk, you can even publish without having anything developed. So you could just publish on the marketplace as an integration, external integration. I know that it's also possible on other marketplaces. So I would say get it out there as soon as you can, and then look at what's happening. Are people reaching out to you? Are you getting calls booked? Are you getting any installs if you develop that? If you're getting early signs of traction, then keep going, keep investing in that. If not, I would put it on the back burner and let it be there. You never know when someone may need that in the future. But I'll kind of like scroll through this and look at other ideas if I'm not getting immediate traction within the first few weeks.
Nice, I like that. Can you walk us through an example of your own, such as ThankYouGPT, what ideation looked like, what validation looked like, and then what kind of traffic you were seeing?
Yeah, so basically with ThankYouGPT, it all started when we had a customer that told us about the problem and asked us if we can help him solve that problem. We created a very, very basic version of the plugin. To an extent, it was almost it had very basic functionality. So it only solved tickets based on regex. So it would look for an exact match to see if the ticket needs to be solved or not. So if you would say thank you, it would solve the ticket. But if you would say thank you, Daniel, it wouldn't solve the ticket. And it didn't even have a UI. It just had like a check mark that would say, oh, like you're connected or you're disconnected, something like that. And that's how it was released. And within the first few months, I started seeing people like downloading it, installing it, removing it, like processing tickets, like stuff was happening. And it's very easy to know when stuff is happening, and say, okay, let's keep investing in that. So you see that some of those apps have traction and some of them have like zero attention. And I think there's all the marketplaces are doing like a mini launch for your app. So they have this weekly or bi-weekly release notes they're releasing to customers, and then they also let the customers know about new apps. So that's a good source of traffic that's driven to the app page, and then you can very early on see if someone is interested in that, or if you should move on and skip that idea.
Cool. So you mentioned landing pages earlier. How would you compare this type of a landing page on a marketplace compared to a standard landing page outside of a marketplace?
So I think it's better and probably worse at the same time. So if you're this marketer that's very concerned with how their landing page looks like, and you want everything to be perfect and you want full control on everything, that's not going to happen. I think one important thing to understand is that with those marketplaces, you have limited control or limited flexibility on what you can and can't do. For example, you can't set up a tracking pixel on the marketplace, right? You don't have a way to tag people that go into the marketplace and remarket to them, for example. So that's a disadvantage of those marketplaces. marketplaces, but I think the main advantage is how easy it is to get started. You can literally get something up and running within like a day or two. It's very structured, so you know what you have to do, and you can't really like make big mistakes, like unless you put like an image that's of your code or something stupid like that, like I did in the beginning. It's very hard to, make a big mistake. So you can't. It's not like, oh, maybe if I change the order of everything, then people would convert more. It's not. It's never going to be like that. There is like a standard template, so you have to fit within the template. There are a few acts that you can do around the template, and you can use more images than text and then stuff like that. But in general, you have to fit within the box. And so if you're using those marketplaces, it's easier to get started. You're more limited, but it's easier to get started.
Cool, I like that. It almost feels like it's a small little world of its own compared to building a real product. Like you're making everything smaller scale. You have infrastructure built for you already. You have certain customers, and you have new rules that you have to live by. Instead of living by the rules of Google and a standard homepage, now you're going to this mini world and having the same principles basically going over there. Um, so if I'm thinking about now potential, or if I want to gauge um, the amount of customers or ARR, I have an idea. I saw that it's on the form, but I want to know what the potential is of this plugin or integration. How would I do that?
So I think this is where it comes down to your understanding of the domain. So obviously, if and I can use ThankYouGPT as an example for that. So I created ThankYouGPT last year. I connected ChatGPT to that, and I was immediately thinking, oh, this is going to be like amazing. Like everybody is going to need that because everybody has tickets that get a thank you message. So like I'm going to be flooded with customers. I can make it to like 2,000 customers easily. And then I realized a few things along the way. One, some people don't really care about their customer experience, and they're doing stuff that make the whole idea of the plugin redundant. So for example, imagine a gift card service that doesn't want to replace bad gift cards. So imagine you bought a gift card and it's not working for you. You write to the website you bought from, and they would ask you, would you like us to send you a replacement gift card? And they would then solve the ticket. So if you didn't answer, you didn't get a replacement. You wouldn't get a replacement. And once the customer would answer, yes, thank you, I would like a reply, like, yes, thank you, which is a valid response for the thank you plugin to automate, they would say, oh, but we need this ticket to stay open. We don't want you to solve it. So that's one type of customers and there are quite a lot of them actually. One type of customers that don't fit into the market of this plugin. The second type is, I wouldn't say don't fit, but there is much more effort involved in getting enterprise customers to use those types of small apps. And so you need to be SOC 2 compliant, you need to be GDPR compliant, which can be a heavy lift for a small developer. This is something that we are doing now, but it can potentially be challenging for someone that's just starting out. And I think the last way to look at the target market is really figuring out how common the problem is and if there are other plugins that are doing that. Because if someone else is doing that, then you can see their metrics and you can have a pretty good feeling for how much traffic or how much need there is for that type of solution. Whereas if you're the only one doing something, or if you're thinking about this without having anyone do that before you, then you're probably going into a field that isn't very required, or is a more kind of like a nice to have versus a must have solution.
How would I differentiate between the must have and the nice to have if I were doing my research?
So I can give you again an example from the Zendesk apps. There are about 5 auto merge apps on the Zendesk marketplace, meaning apps that help you automatically merge duplicate tickets from the same customer. So imagine you sent me an email today and then you also send me an email tomorrow. Then those apps would capture the email that you sent, let's say tomorrow, and merge it together with the email you sent today. So when an agent looks at those tickets, they only have 1 ticket to answer and not 2 tickets. So there are about 5 of those on the marketplace, and each one has like 200, 300 installs. Whereas other type of apps, for example, the ThankYou app, I've got like 200 and something installs, but I'm the only one there. So that's pretty much the total addressable market. You can't even rip and replace from somebody else's solution. You can do like something better, differentiate yourself. You're the only one. So either people want it or not, and if you're the only one, there is probably a fairly limited market for what you're doing.
Got it. So basically, you check out the metrics of existing solutions and you feel, can I cut out a piece of the pie for myself?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that you can see is something that is I would say building on top, not building on top of, or not directly competing with another app, but building something that is related to another app. So for example, when I built a Shopify AI agent, I can see that this Shopify app that was developed by Zendesk, which just shows the information of the customer from Shopify in Zendesk, has like 15,000 installs. So you can confidently say, oh, there are more than 10,000 people using Shopify on Zendesk. So you have this target market of, okay, like I know what's my target market. I know there are those 10,000 people that are definitely using Shopify on Zendesk. And let's say I'm automating like a certain workflow for them. So probably all of them or most of them need that certain workflow if it's basic enough. So you can start making calculations, kind of like back of the napkin calculations, but still calculations on figuring out how much traffic and how much volume you could actually, or let's say what's your total market from looking at other solutions that are out there.
Got it. I like that. So now let's say that I'm figuring out where do I want to develop my app, and I have a bunch of different marketplaces, right? How do I weigh the pros and cons of each one?
So I think it comes down to what's your what your core capabilities are and what you're comfortable doing. Potentially, you don't even know how to develop, and you could spin up a landing page on Zendesk. If you know how to work in Salesforce, maybe you want to work with the Salesforce flows and Apex to create some basic solution for the Salesforce world, which is, for just to give you an example, the Salesforce app economy is somewhere around the $1.5 billion every year that are transacted on the Salesforce app exchange. So it's a huge economy, and that's kind of flying under the radar. The Shopify app store is more or less has more or less the same number of monetary number or market size like the Salesforce one, and so I would say start where you're comfortable, work with your strength and not with your weaknesses, and just really experiment and try. You can try on Salesforce, and then a week later try on Zendesk, and then a week later try on HubSpot, and it's super easy to get started. So I would say just give it a try and give it a shot and see where you land after a few experiments.
Nice. Can you tell me what you personally like and dislike about the Zendesk marketplace?
Yeah, so I really like the ability to create um, create landing pages without having to develop the application, because that's an easy way to measure demand and see if someone is interested in the app. I also think that the way they have baked the marketplace, or the way they've integrated the marketplace into the main product, makes sense and makes it easier for customers to pay through the marketplace and use the Zendesk marketplace for apps. And they've also taken a very big workload off the developers and created like a mechanism for signing in people and all billing people. So everything that is not the core product they've taken care of. The disadvantages of the marketplace is stuff that I'm starting to see right now is more related to marketing. So you obviously can't pixel, you can't properly track events on the marketplace. So it's very difficult to actually grow with paid marketing because it's very difficult to measure what's going on. So this is something I'm kind of like trying to crack now, but it's definitely more difficult to grow than other types of marketing funnels I've had the experience running in the past.
Sounds like there's a need for a plugin.
Yes and yes, but you can't really do it because it's you can't build on top of the marketplace. So I know there is a company that's working on creating, like a startup that's working on creating those marketplace environments for platforms. So I know that's in the like someone is working on the general problem. I actually think that the need is more around the marketing capabilities for those developers, because all the developers I've spoken to, all the people that develop plugins on any marketplace, they come from the implementation or development world. They have no idea how to market their plugin. They have no idea how to make any business development with the platform. So I think there is a big gap in marketing those apps properly on those platforms. And I think if someone kind of like wants to get into wants to have a marketing angle, wants to work with early stage founders, I think like marketing those small products on the marketplaces is very similar to app store optimization. And I think it's going to pick up in the next few years because there are going to be so many people that just use AI to develop their solutions.
Nice. I like that a lot. So, what would be your final tips for someone who wants to start out developing on marketplaces?
So I think it's very similar to standard product development. You have to do validation, you have to make sure that someone wants your product, and you have to invest in marketing this and thinking how you go to market and not just building and hoping people would come. The only thing I would say that is maybe specific to the marketplaces is that the cycles here need to be much faster. So we spoke previously about that it can take a long time to validate a product and see if a product has a market or not. And in the marketplaces, you have to move much faster than traditional products. So you need to build your app in a few days. You need to validate through the forums or the community engagement. And you need to think about, and you need to see that you have a go-to-market motion within days after releasing the plugin. You can't like spend months trying to build a go-to-market motion for your tools.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tamir, for coming on the show. How can people reach out to you and learn more?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Tamir Bashkin. If you have an app that you want to develop or you have an idea, feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to help.
Thanks so much, Tamir. That was awesome. I
Thank you
learned a
very
lot.
much for having me.